Okay. So what are we up to here? אז אני אומר, שני ביצים, שני אגוזים, שני קישואים, 2 eggs, 2 nuts, 2 squashes, בדבר אחר and something else, הלכה למשה מסיני. In other words, there are specific things which Zugos apply, not more than that. And they are 2 eggs, 2 nuts, and 2 squashes. So but the thing is, there was a davar acher. There's something else. That's something else. We're not sure what it is. And since we're not sure what it is, so therefore they made a blanket prohibition on all, or they warned us not to use any zugos. So halacha Moshe Messina here probably doesn't mean halacha Moshe Messina. Whenever the Gemara has something which is very much mekubal, very much accepted, very much known, it's considered the use lashon halacha Moshe Messina, even though it's not a literal halacha Moshe Messina. And this is probably something that's right, because I can't imagine that. I don't imagine, but it's unlikely that this type of thing, which Moshe Rabbeinu was given at Har Sinai in order to give to Am Yisrael. So the Mefarshim here do not seem to have any profound explanation of why these things. So, but. What I would say would be that not sure about Kishuin, because Kishuin are not round, but the other things are round. Oh, actually, not all of those are round either. I'm not sure why it would be these specific things and what the davar acher would be. Of course, we have no idea. Mustapku Rabbanim Ayni Davar Acher because Rabbanim Kul Zugi Mishum Davar Acher. Vad Amru Asora Timnai Shisa Arba Emben Mishum Zuge. That which they said that 10, 8, 6, 4, we said previously don't have Zuge. Lo Marnel Ian Mazikin. That's only in terms of Mazikin, the Shedim. In Kshafim, Afilu Tuva Nami Chashinule. In terms of Kshafim, it doesn't work that way. So the difference between Shedim and Kshafim is that Shedim are independent operators, right? They have their own specific powers which are under their control. Kishuf is to try and use powers which, in other words, the Mechashvim can, by invoking certain mystical things which they're aware of, they can invoke other powers. It's not their own power directly. A shade operates on its own, and we assume that Shedim operate at least with some sense of Yiras Shamayim, because they're privy to the secrets of heaven, right? And not going to go, even Ashmadoi, when he was according to the story in Gittin, when he was accompanying Shlomo Benayo, and he said, this is going to happen to that person, that's going to happen to this person. It was all with the assumption that HaKadosh Baruch Hu rules the world, right? And that's why these things are going to happen. So a shade has his own specific Yiras Shamayim, whatever it may be, it's there. And whereas a Mechashef or Machshefa, they don't have any semblance of Yiras Shamayim. On the contrary, they're true. The Chazal say and elsewhere that Kshafim is Machishim Pamal Yoshamala. They want to undermine the heavenly control of the world. So if a shade has a derech eretz, right, to not be attacked by numbers of shlemos, the witch or sorcerer has no such derech eretz. They don't have this idea of something which is a barrier. So the Shedim actually have mischief makers. Machshefos are wicked. Okay, so there's this idea of the Kevachit and Rishus the Mashlis the Hashlis, Mafchim Mitzadik Russia. Because that's talking about where Kodesh Baruch Hu sends a Mashlis. Kodesh Baruch Hu sends a Malach, which is Mashlis. So then it doesn't distinguish between Tzadikim and Rishonim. It attacks indiscriminately, right? So there's this power in the world which Kodesh Baruch Hu created in the world to attack indiscriminately. And if the power to attack indiscriminately exists from Shemayim to Oretz, from the way Kodesh Baruch Hu conducts the world, it certainly exists in Oretz itself when wicked people try to exploit the system for their own purposes. Okay, they can have, if they have a Pesach, an opening, so then they can do what they can try and use it for whatever purpose they want. And it's one of the if you believe in Kishuf, then that's one of the random things that Kodesh Baruch Hu left in the Bria. Okay, that's why it says that one of the there says that the way to undermine the power of Kishuf is by focusing on Eino Milvado. In other words, if you focus on Eino Milvado, you utterly shut out any other possible causality in the world, and you shut out the sense of because you're transcending that and having direct relation with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. To the extent that works, you actually can be saved from truffle, like Mara there says. Okay, with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so where it says Kihadu Gavra. So there was a certain man, the Gar Shali Debisu. He divorced his wife. Ozla Insaval Chanva. She went to marry a shopkeeper. Every day he would go to I don't know why he did it, this foolish first husband, but every day he went. The chanusa here means like a bar, so every day he went to the bar. And she tried to make witchcraft against him. It didn't work. To have a mazer nafshe bezuga, because he was careful not to do zugos. Yom echad, one day, ishti tuva, he drank too much. Lo yadavakama shase, you know how much he drank. Achitzar havatoil, until he got to 16, he was clear-headed, relatively, I guess. The hader been enough. He made sure not to have an even number of cups. At that point on, he wasn't clear. The low he's dire, and he wasn't careful. So ended up doing things in an even number. When he was going, a certain Arab merchant met him. Amalei said, this is a dead man walking. Okay. So, well, yeah. So the he went and he embraced a palm tree, and tzavach dikla, the palm tree, according to Rashi, says it dried up. I'm not sure how it comes with tzavach. Upakahu, and any man, and he burst the fellow who was had this witchcraft happen to him. So he I guess exploded is the right word to use. That's what happened to him. So so evidently what we see here is that, again, he didn't necessarily deserve to die, although maybe he did because of divorcing her. I don't know. But if you leave yourself open to chance, and certainly you can He wasn't able to focus on Eino Milvado because he was probably walking around drunk. I don't know if he was able to do it anyway. But then his wife, the ex-wife, the witch, was able to bestow some sort of curse on him, and which led eventually to his being killed when he wrapped his hands around the deco. Okay, so the plates and loaves have no zugos. Why? Because we have a cloud here. Kol shegamro bidei adam ein bohem mishum zugos. Anything which human beings made, there's no zugos. Gamro bidei shamayim. But if it's made by heaven, so then it depends. If it's meaning the meichal, if it's something which can be eaten, kaishina. Other things, you don't have to be choshesh. So it seems, we said before that zugos are a sign of duality. But it's man-made, then it's not something which is being representing duality. A, because the man who made them, and that's like it's three, right? The man and the two things which he made, or the two things made by the man. But more importantly, again, if the idea of zugos is based on anything, it's based on the idea that there is two rishuyos, there is division, there's separation. There are things which are not directly controlled by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows them to spin out of control. But that's only going to be true about something where it is natural in and of itself, because natural in of itself, it's part of the Bria in of itself, and therefore it represents duality. But when a man made them, it's arbitrary. It's not something which is intrinsically one or two. It's something which this man decided to make one or two. Whereas what I was saying is that a true unit is something which is a natural unit. Something which is man-made is an arbitrary measure. It's not a true unit. If I make a stender, so I decided to make the stender this height, this width, and so on and so forth, but I could have made it a different height, a different width, right? So therefore, I arbitrarily determine if it's going to be one stender, two stenders, tall stender, low, short stender. That was my determination. So that's my determination. So therefore, it doesn't indicate anything intrinsic about duality. But if you hold that, but something which is b'dei shamayim, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu created his unit, that's something else. And that we have also reflected in halacha, the halacha of birya, right, in Yoredea. But a birya can only be something which is naturally a whole thing. According to most opinions, it's only when it's an animal or an insect, even something very small, but that's considered to be a birya. And a birya is not batel even be'elef. It's not batel even in 1,000. Whereas there are certain shittas also that hold, and the bracha becomes a safek. If you have a birya, like you have one grape, even though it's less than a kazayas, yeah, it's considered to be a birya, and you have to make a bracha achrayna. Even though it was the same thing, if it had half a grape, which is larger than a whole grape, you wouldn't have to make the alagaf and priyagaf. So but these ideas of birya, which exist because it's a whole thing made by Kodesh Baruch Hu. If you have something which is significant, which was man-made to be significant, then that's because it's a chaticha real iskabed. It's something which is large and significant. But it's not no such concept as birya, except by something which is b'dei shamayim. So therefore, the fact that there should be a unit and that two units are bad, that's something which has to do with that which is Gemara b'dei shamayim, not Gemara b'dei adam. How does that sound?
Makes sense.
Obviously, I just made it up, but I think it's good. Yeah. Okay, so so he's let's just see if there are any refarshim on this. So the Taisus Rid asks why are kikaros? Why are kikaros? Why are loaves considered to be b'dei adam? So because it says that the kernels of grain which come out from the land, they can't be eaten until a person does many malachas, until he makes them bread. But wine, because we saw before, cups of wine before do have zugos, right? But even though it was completed by a human being who presses the grapes and makes them wine, nevertheless, the grapes which came out of the ground are considered to be peros, which are suitable to eat. And the wine is also considered to be stored up inside it. And therefore it's considered to be wine, it's considered to be gomer de shamayim, and therefore if you drink 2 cups of wine, so it's considered to be a problem of zugos. So it's interesting that it all goes by whether when it came from shamayim it was a whole thing, or when it came from Shamayim wasn't a whole thing. And since the grapes, when they come from shamayim, when they grow on the ground, the whole thing, and no, that's not what it is. He said but by grapes because it's suitable to achila. So since it's suitable to achila, it's suitable to eat at the time that it comes out of the ground as grapes. So there can be units even by that which comes out of the grapes, the wine. But by kernels of grain, which are not normally suitable to eat, or not suitable for most people to eat, as they come to the ground, so therefore when you make the bread, it's considered to be Gemara b'dei shamayim. Gemara b'dei adam, sorry. So Gemara b'dei shamayim means where the point where it was able to be eaten is reached by heaven, or the point where it's able to eat is reached by human intervention. Okay? So again, things which are based on human intervention, there is no such thing as zugos. Okay. Then the Gemara says, again, Garmin Eshmaim B'mile meaning the Meichal Chayshino. Yeah, in other words, I guess the way is explaining. So it's that even if it's something which was later on made into a more to a new type of food, it doesn't matter. It's still considered to be so considered to go after how it came out of the ground, how it was, whether it was suitable to eat when it came out of the ground, and that is going to be a problem. Okay, so the Gemara says then, chanus ein bohem mishum zugos. Chanus, which is if you, Rashi says if you're drinking 2 bars, if you're drinking 1 bar, you have problems with zugos, like before. But say for when you're drinking 2 bars, there's no, it's not like 2 cups. Okay, that's the first shot in Rashi, which makes it okay with the cases. For the second shot in Rashi says, if you're in a bar and you drink zugos, lo kapti mazikin ola. The mazikin are not okay, are not bad with you, even if it's in the same bar. The lav kusa you, because when people drink in bars, it's not considered to be a kvius. It's not considered to be that these 2 cups are joined together by virtue of being kavua in that one place. That's, but according to this, you have to say that in the case of above, that it was since it was witchcraft, it was different, and it worked even though it was in a chanus, even though each the cups were not mitzaref together. For zugos, they are mitzaref together for in terms of shofim. Okay, so the says more further. Nimlach ein behem mishum zugos. If you change your mind, you had three cups, and you say, you know what, I'm gonna have a 4th cup. So there's no zugos, because whatever you did already does not continue on till you have it to the next thing which you're doing. Oreach ein bo mishum zugos. The if you have a guest, so there's no issue of zugos. In other words, you don't have to have an odd number of guests. Also, isha ein behem mishum zugos. If a woman doesn't have zugos now, no, that's not what it means. Sorry, it's sorry. Oreach ein bo zugos means a guest does not have to be concerned with zugos. Only about bias. And the reason for that is because we're like nimlach, right? You don't have das that you know how many cups you're going to have. When somebody deliberately plans how many cups you're going to have, about bias, and it's the same like chanus as well. Chanus, you don't know how many cups you're going to have. So a reach who's contingent on the Baal bias's das, for him there's no kinds of zugos.
Unless he goes planning it.
But even he plans it. We're saying that it's not really a plan because it's not up to him to decide. Isha b'mishum zugos. Now this is kind of like the halacha by Pesach that an isha is not chayiv in haseva because the woman again is not under her own jurisdiction, right? So therefore, she's not chayiv to recline. But just like by Pesach, it says the isha chashuva chayshinon. If she's an isha chashuva, so just like some opinions, isha chashuva has to do a seva on Pesach, has to recline Pesach. So too, if she's an isha chashuva, we're afraid that it's going to be a problem for her.
How do we logically define that?
We have no idea. But problem means a woman is independently wealthy. She has control of her own funds. So she's independent of her in that sense. Okay, so that's probably the way it should be defined. Okay, so let's go more further. Rabbi Chanina Brei Rabbi Yeshua said, Amar Chanina Brei Rabbi Yeshua, Ispargus, which is a kind of drink which is made for medical purposes. So it's kind of like a medicine. So Ispargus, therefore, since it's kind of medicine, it's mitzaref l'toiva. It can be mitzaref in order to get out of zugos. Then mitzaref l'ra. In other words, a substance which is intrinsically medical, intrinsically beneficial in that way, also has a claim that's beneficial for zugos. Everything which has to do with zugos is going to mimic things which happen in this world. So in this world, Ispargus is something which is good for you, so then it's not going to be bad for you in terms of zugos. They say zuge l'chumra. Finally, zuge l'kula. So by the way, the Rabbeinu, the Rashi says here, I'm sorry, Ispargus is something else. I thought Ispargus was something you drink for health. I'm sure that actually is true.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the Rashbam says that.
The Rashbam says it. Okay, because I don't have the Rashbam. So because the Rashi says that Ispargus is something lishtos kodem achilas haboker, something we should drink in the morning. So coffee, mitzaref l'toiva, not mitzaref l'ra. I think it's kind of like anything you can eat before davening is not chashuv enough to actually join into the problem of zugos. So they said zuge l'kula or zuge l'chumra. In other words, if you're in doubt, right? So some people say you have to be machmir, and if you don't know, Rashi says if you don't know how many, if you drank zugos or not, the machmir means to drink another cup, right? So and because even if he this ends up drinking zugos, since his kavanah was for this one to join only for the good, so therefore it doesn't join for bad. It's a cup which is consumed again for the purpose of getting you out of zugos. By definition, not going to be a problem with zugos. That's what he says. The first, that's zugi l'chumra. Okay, v'amale zugi l'kula means Rashi says you shouldn't drink. Why? Because if you do drink, it's megala that you are makbid on zugos. And so now, and if originally you weren't in zugos, and now you drink and it makes it zugos, so then you're demonstrating that you believe in it. Like we said before, man, the kapit kabdinan imei. If you believe in it, then then you have to suffer for it. Okay, so therefore, He says, don't drink it in order that you shouldn't be like open yourself up to it. I'm Rabbi Yosef. They said trade the chamra, the chad, the shichra, two cups of wine, and one of beer. It's not mitzdarif. Lo mitzdarif. Trade the shichra, the chad, the chamra. You have two of beer and one of wine. It's mitzdarif. But how? See, Martha, wait a minute. Zeh kol mechuber lo min hachomer mimenu tameh. And which is connected from that which is more severe. It's this by Tumantaro. This if you have a mat, which is or a patch, which is made up of many materials. So if the material which you introduced is a material which is metame more, it's metame on a higher level, right? Like Rava to Mauritian to whatever. So then it's mitzdarif. Well, actually, I think it's the shear of the. I think it has to do with the shear of how big it has to be in order to be makabel tumah. So something which you sit on, then which you lie on. So if it's or something which is a garment. So if you can, if you have a coarser garment which has a higher shear. No, it has to be bigger. And a part of it is a finer garment that's mitzdareh to make up from the coarser garment, coarser material, plus the finer material makes up the shear which is necessary in order to become tummy. But if the garment is made of finer material, the coarser material doesn't join it to make up a shear which is suitable for tumah. So to here, wine can join with beer. Beer can't join with wine. So if you have 2 cups of wine, a third cup of beer will not do you any good. If you have 2 cups of beer, a third cup of wine will do you good. Okay? So that means we're doing three. Trade the chamra, b'chad the shichra, lo mitzdareh. Right. So it's kind of like a concept of mali makodesh lo moridin. That if you want to make it, get out of Zugos, you have to add something which is either on a par or better, but not something which is worse, because then it's as if you're just doing this same thing. It's as if that you're makbid on the Zugos, and this is just you drinking as a tack on. It doesn't actually have any tziruf with everything which is there, with the two which are there. Okay. Amrav Nachman Amarav Trey Kamotacha. You have 2 cups of wine before the meal, literally before the table. The chad ataka and one on the table during the meal. It's starfing, they join. Chamakami kotaka, if you have one before the meal, and then therefore it's 3, and it's not a problem. But chamakami taka, one before the meal, but trey ataka and 2 during the meal, lo mitzdarfin, and then you have a problem. Okay, so I did it before. Masa mashash atu alam tikune taka kabayinan. He says, what do we care if the table, not table? What difference does it make to us? The question is how many cups the gavra drank. It's not on the heft of the table. It's on the gavra, the person, right? The gavra come attacking the kite, right? So then the person is fixed, so therefore it's not a problem. So the Kuli, the Gemara says, the Kuli ama, triataka b'chad b'sar taka, lo mitzdarfe. If you have 2 on the table, and in other words, during the meal, and 1 after the table, after the meal, then it's starved. Just like by Birkas Hamazon, right? If you have a cup of wine after the meal, you have to make a new bracha. Right? If you have a cup of wine before the meal, and then you have during the meal, you don't need a new bracha. You got me during the meal, and after the meal, you need a new bracha after the meal. Because like we by benching, we make up another bori priyagofen. So the idea is that if it's after the meal, it can't join up anymore because it's like you were masalik. You move yourself from that drinking, and therefore this is a new drinking. It's not going to be any good. You have to drink the cup before benching. So says Gemara, it's like who might some Rabbi Nachmani, where he remembered that he drank Zugos and he brought back the table. Amr Yehuda Amr Shmuel call mazug. Anything which is diluted. So mitzdaref, it joins together. Chutz min hamayim. In other words, even though the wine is watered down, but since that's the derech, drink wine watered down, right? So therefore, it's still considered to be mitzdaref, whether for good or for bad. But Rabbi Yochanan, but not water, not plain water. Yochanan afilu mayim. That's even water. Now, Rashi says here, chutz mi mayim, mezugim, the water which is blended. So kariyeh b'chamim b'chamim b'kriyeh, the mayim lo mezigohi. He says that. We didn't do. Chutz min hamayim means that water doesn't join together. If the water is hot and the wine was no, that's what it means. Say mine. What's Rashbam say? I don't have a Rashbam in front of me. Mozuk in shasa yain mozuk haker shasa mashka mozuk acher and mozuk means it's interesting. Okay, so where the Rashbam says it is that if there is any common denominator, so they join together, including that if you drink date juice and grape juice, but they shouldn't be mitzvah because it's not the same thing. No, but they're both mozuk. They're both either watered down or they're both watered down. So then they mitzvah because of the common denominator. They're both being watered down. So the common denominator in any way, shape, or form can make zugos, which is big chumrah. Chutz min hamayim. It says water doesn't join together. So water which is mixed together like hot water, cold with hot water. There's no such thing as mazuk by water. Rashi says mayim lo mezigohi. So since there's no such thing as mizuk as blending, as calibrating the drink. So therefore, the fact that the wine was mazuk and the mayim was mazuk, they still don't join together. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan afilu mayim. He says no, even water joins together. Amra papalomar el chamim go kriya go chamim. The whole machlekes is where the only time it's not mitzvah to the wine is when you have cold and warm blended together. Aval chamim go chamim kriya go kriya lo. Well, that which is said, if there is mazuk by water, it's if there's warm and cold and warm. But if there are two types of warm water or two types of cold water, the fact that you combine them is meaningless. Well, it makes sense, okay? Because there's no defining characteristic by water other than the temperature. Amrei shlakish arba'at dvarim ha'ososam dama benafsho. Okay, so now we have four things which if a person does the dama benafsho. Rashi says because of ruach ra. See the Rashi? What does Rashbam say?
Ruach ra. Yeah.
Ruach ra. Okay. So we don't know exactly what a ruach ra is. Obviously it says that we do in Egobas and Tiyos in the morning because of ruach ra. And if you are go to the cemetery, there's a ruach ra. So there are all sorts of things which are ruach ra, which is evidently again. If I was Rabban Sabech, I'd explain scientifically, but it's evidently some sort of quality which certain things generate, and this generating this ruach ra is a reason to avoid them because it might have a negative impact upon you. And to the point that it says here that Rishon says you do domo barosho, your your blood is on your own head. Um, what are they? You're liable to your own death. And hanifne bein dekel lekoso, somebody who goes to the bathroom between a dekel and a koso, between a palm tree and a wall. V'over bein shnei goim, somebody passed between two palm trees. V'ashoisem mayim shu'ulim, and somebody drinks borrowed water. V'over a mayim shfuchim, and somebody who crosses over spilled water. V'afilu shfachto isha b'fanav, and even if his wife spilled the water in front of him. So now Gemara is going to go into all these things in depth. Okay. It's only if there isn't a gap before amos. Amos, and this ramos lace long bar. There's no problem. Now this could be a very simple chat here, which is that ruach ra in a confined space is very bad for you. If it's not confined space, it's not so bad. Now we see that in Baba Kama, where a shore falls into a bore. There's an opinion that it dies not because of the. You familiar with this?
No.
A shore, an ox falls into a pit. So the question is, and he dies. What killed him? So is it the chabota, the impact, or the havla, the heat, the stale air? So it's at the bottom of the bore is stale air, and the chamor, the ox fell into it. His demise is hastened by the bad air in there. So here too, you also have this notion of bad air. It's a place where, in this place, which is a confined space, there's a problem of the bad air, which actually could have a negative impact upon you. And again, it could be a natural thing, even if it's not a natural thing. So the point is that wherever it's not confined space, just like a natural bad air would dissipate, so too the spiritual bad air also dissipates. Okay, so so now which it doesn't have 4 amos. Now it sounds like it's actually more supernatural. It's only if there is no other way. But if there's another way, so then you can go through the other way, and not you can go through the other way, but the shade will go through the other way. That's what Rashi says by the Arba Amos. If it's not enough for Amos, the reason why it's dangerous is because the low shavik rucha ravchol shida. You're not leaving enough gap for the demon, right? And to get through at the same time as you. And also through which the shade can go, right? So therefore, if there's another way for it to go, it's not a problem. But if it's no other way to go, so then you and the shade might have a very nasty encounter. So for some reason, which I don't some reason I don't really understand. Shedim like palm trees.
Yeah.
Yes. It could be because it's pretty wild, but it could be because you say tzaddik katomar yifrach. A tzaddik grows high like a date tree, so therefore the date tree represents something which is a powerful positive force in the creation, and therefore the shedim they get some sort of benefit by being in the presence of the decal, but there's the Menorah Samar says the Menorah Samora says that we're gonna have a Gemara in a minute about you shouldn't walk between two pigs, or you shouldn't allow a pig to walk between the two of you, right? And the case is it says dogs, palm trees, women. Some people say also a pig, and some say also a snake. That's one which is coming up. So the Menorah Samora says on this that Ein Bohem Em Tzois, there's no middle ground by these things. They're either good or bad. There's no happy medium between them. So they're either good dogs or bad dogs. There's no like in between dog. Either good palm trees or bad palm trees. There's no in between. Oh, well, it's one of the encyclopedia to me if there's anything about that. No, there's not anything about that. The this is a pasuk. Shedim. Yes. So pasuk shir Hashem. Amarti perek zayin pasuk test. Amarti elebes samar. I said I'll go up on the palm tree. Ochaza b'sad sonav. I'm going to grip onto its twigs. B'yuna shadai keshkalos, and your breast will be like grape clusters. V'recha pekes habuchim, and the fragrance of your face of like apples. So. I'm trying to figure out what the Malbim says. Amati Levet Tamar. I said to go up on the palm tree. As amates b'chol kochi, I'm going to make an effort with all my strength. While also to go up to your heights, right? Bagamsha Tamar chalak, even though a palm tree is smooth, the pol b'kal holelav, as when he climbs up, will very easily fall. I'm going to try and grip onto his branches as I go up. The Tolomar means to say, I'm going to do anything that I possibly can to attain your love. And then he says, I want to have your grapes, which are, which he doesn't explain here, but and then he says something else. And the Malit, that's in the Mashal. In Melitza's interpretation, he says, I don't like this. Says that I'm going to make an effort to impede my soul from leaving my body. And even though my soul goes high up, like a palm tree, and it's very distant from me, nevertheless, I'm going to hold on to its branches. And this is how the body, at the last moment before death, tries to grip onto the nefesh that the nefesh will not separate from it. So the tamar represents the nefesh, and the person is trying to hold on to the tamar. He is trying to keep his nefesh within him. It's an interesting idea. So the tamar represents something which is high and lofty, and he's going to try and keep it within him by grabbing on to the branches. You know, there's a Gemara says that the opening to Gehenna is between two palm trees in Gay Ben Hinnom, in the valley outside Yerushalayim. So and we know Tzadik HaTomar Yifrach Eretz Babon and Yizgeh. The Tzadik is like a Tamar, is like a date. It's loftiness. So the Tamar represents the loftiness, and the person who goes down to Gehenna between the two palm trees, he didn't reach that loftiness. Right? So he's going to the opposite direction, going down instead of up, because he didn't reach the level of the Tamar. So a Tamar is evidently is considered to represent something which is quite positive, quite represent a righteous person, and therefore, if you're going with the idea of Shedim, so again, they like hanging around these places where they could be nourished from this positive vibe. But I think that you can say that's a marshal, and say that somebody who walks among tzaddikim and is not affected is Dama Barosha. Because you walk between two palm trees, it's Dama Barosha, because you're not affected positively by it. If you walk between a wall and a palm tree, so then the Am Yisrael is likened to a wall. Also in Shir Shem, Ani Choma. We also say it in Hoshanas, Om Ani Choma. So Am Yisrael is like a wall, right? And the dekel is like the tzaddik. So you walk. That sounds kind of Hasidish now, but okay, it's not bad. So if you walk between the wall and the palm tree, you're not affected positively. So then you walk between Am Yisrael and the tzaddikim, you're not affected positively. So Dama Barosha, except if there is there's more than 4 amos, right? Because then they're not close enough to have an impact. There have to be some interaction between the tzaddikim and Am Yisrael in order that you should be required to learn from them. And if there's a darka achrina, if there's another way to go, so then when there are multiple options, we don't hold you so accountable for not having learned, because it's hard. But if there's no other way, you specifically were among, so to speak, these tzaddikim, and you didn't learn from them, so then Dama Barosha. Okay, that's a remez I would give to that, both for the Dekala Kaisel, and I would mention they'd call him Lama Lo Paskinu Shusa Rabin. Right, it says that you go between the two palm trees, and if there's if there's Rishus Rabin between the two of them, again, there's not enough of a connection between you and the Kolim for you to be held as accountable. Because Rishus Rabin, there are too many people around, so you don't have that direct relationship. But there's a Rishus Rabin there, then we don't have a problem with that. Okay, so that is how I would learn the Gemara as a remez. And I think we'll stop here for this evening. Don't see anything. Oh, I should read what it says here. He says, again, this is later on. No, this is later on. This is about the dog and the palm tree and the later on. Okay, so this is for next week. Okay, we'll stop here. So, where is the...